Okay, this is part 2 of our modules about searching, and we're going to look at some other signals. And this cluster of signals over here looks a little bit suspicious. I want to get a little bit of a better idea of what's going on over here. I suspect that we may be looking at some kind of cellular signal there. So I'm going to go scroll back down through my signal list again. I'm turning the knob right now. You can see that the line is moving. This is an easy way to move quickly through the frequency spectrum. Another way to move quickly through this frequency spectrum is to use the marker, and by using the step keys, I can actually move the marker by big steps, which let me move more quickly than by turning the knob, because when I turn the knob, I'm just moving one step at a time. Remember, my step size is 60 kilohertz here. So there are ways to move quickly through the spectrum, and one of them is to just scroll through the signal list, which is how I got the selected signal to here, signal 84. You can see that there's a cluster of signals right here at near the same frequency. So we've seen that it's easy to zoom in on a signal by using the signal zoom function. And sure enough, this does look like some kind of a broadband signal. It's probably not worth 3 peaks, maybe more like only 1 peak. And again, it's easy for me to go to the spectrum analyzer and get a look at this signal in real time. So let's let's go to a wider span and see what this signal looks like. So I'm turning the knob again. Sure enough, it's some kind of a broadband signal. You can see that it's changing even as we look at it. I'm going to try to get into the center of this signal using the band power function, because the band power function is one way of bracketing a signal nicely so that you can see its center. Now the band power function is located under marker function, so I need to get the marker on the screen. You can just do a peak search anytime you want to get the marker on the screen, because it only searches within the confines of the current span. So there's the marker. Now let's turn on the band power function, and you can adjust the marker frequency to center it up. So I'm turning the knob right now to adjust that. And I can also adjust the width of the signal if I need to help in the centering process by adjusting the band span. But in this particular case, it looks like we've got the signal pretty neatly bracketed. So here's the center point of the signal, and it looks like it's about 526.93 megahertz. We do a marker to center frequency to get that marker frequency to the center, and now the center frequency has the value that we've determined is the actual center point for this signal. Okay, so now when I go back to the EMI receiver, it'll take that center frequency back and put it into the meter frequency register. So there's the meters at that same frequency. And now what I can do is in the marker 2 menu, I can do a meters to list function to append this new signal to my signal list. So there it is. I've added it to the signal list. And now I can delete these other 3 signals because they don't represent the center point of this signal, and I don't need more than one signal for this particular signal. So I'm going to delete those. Now remember, the way to delete a signal is to mark it. You can mark it by pressing the select key on the front panel, or you can actually, if you're using a mouse, you can just go click in the little space here. But now I have selected those 3 signals, and I'm going to go to signal list, delete signals, and delete marked. Okay, so now I have but one X representing the center point of this signal, and there it is right there. Now, one more thing that you can do is to add signals to the signal list manually. So you may have some frequencies that you always want to measure, regardless of whether a signal appeared at those frequencies or not. So the easiest way to do that is to simply move the meters to the frequency that you want to add to the signal list, and then just add it to the signal list using the marker 2 function. So let's say we always want to make a measurement at 500 megahertz. We simply go frequency 500 megahertz, and so now the meters are at that frequency, and then we say marker 2 and meters to list append, and when we do that, it adds a 500 megahertz signal to the list, and now we have a signal at 500 megahertz, and we can save the signal list using the save functionality, and import the signal list back into another instance of the measurement at any time with the signals that we have found by scanning, searching, tweaking, and manually adding. So complete control over your signal list, and the ability to move back and forth between frequency scan and the spectrum analyzer, plus the ability to see the scan, the list, and the meters all at the same time on screen, gives you unprecedented command of your signal list and the kind of insight that you really need to control your measurement. So now we're going to move on and talk about the final measurement.